Welcome to my HQ. The red deer rut is often seen as a spectacular moment. But in the field, it's neither a show nor a simple behavior. It's a period of intense tension, where every presence matters. In this video, we're going to look at the rut from the deer's point of view. Let's begin. The deer rut is often perceived as a powerful moment. Loud, impressive, spectacular. But for the animal, it is not an event. It is a period of maximum tension. A stag does not enter the rut suddenly. He reaches it gradually. His behavior changes. His priorities shift. In most European territories, the rut begins at the end of September, reaches its peak in October, and then fades progressively in early November. This seasonal framework is relatively stable, but the way the rut is expressed varies greatly from one territory to another. During this period, the stag devotes a large part of his energy to holding a position, monitoring rivals, vocalizing, and moving constantly. Feeding becomes secondary, rest is fragmented, vigilance never stops. This is not a comfortable phase. It is a costly one. Understanding this completely changes the way we approach the rut in the field. We no longer watch an animal that is expressing itself. We observe an animal under constraint, during a period where every mistake has a cost. The rut does not start on a precise date, but it does not happen randomly either. It is triggered by a combination of biological factors, primarily day length. Photoperiod plays a central role. That is why, year after year, the timing remains broadly the same. In most regions, the first signs appear in late September. Vocalizations become regular in October. Then activity gradually decreases in early November. There is no sharp cutoff. No on and off switch. In the field, the beginning of the rut is often diffuse. A few isolated calls, subtle changes in behavior. The end is just as progressive. Calls become less frequent, interactions decrease, the animal slowly begins to withdraw. For the photographer, understanding this gradual progression is essential. Because the most visible phases are not necessarily the most workable ones. Arriving too early often means understanding nothing. And arriving too late means intervening with an animal that is already exhausted. The rut is a rise, followed by a decline. And each moment offers a very different reading of the field. Weather does not create the rut, but it profoundly alters the way it is expressed. High temperatures tend to concentrate activity into very short nocturnal windows. Vocalizations become more discreet, movements occur later, appearances become even rarer. Conversely, cooler conditions can make certain phases more audible, sometimes longer, but not necessarily more visible. For the deer, every degree matters. Expending energy in high temperatures increases physiological cost. Recovery becomes more difficult. Fatigue sets in faster. This leads to constant trade-offs: where to move, when to vocalize, when to remain silent. For the observer, the trap is believing that acoustic intensity corresponds to usable presence. Very often, sound is completely out of sync with visibility. Understanding the influence of temperature helps avoid unrealistic expectations and, above all, recognize moments when staying in the field will produce nothing readable. During the rut, the stag does not use its territory the same way it does the rest of the year. Rutting areas are not resting areas. They are not meant to last. They serve a very specific function: holding a position, attracting, asserting presence. But around these areas, there are always fallback spaces, quiet zones, escape corridors. Without these areas, the rut cannot be sustained. A stag that cannot withdraw, hide, or find shelter is a stag at risk. For the photographer, this implies one clear thing: the work is not done at the heart of the rut. It is done around it. Through understanding spatial organization, through identifying buffer zones. Improvising a hide during the rut, without knowing these balances, means intervening in the worst place, at the worst moment. The stag then has no margin left. The rut is a period of exhaustion. The stag feeds very little. He moves constantly. He vocalizes for long periods. He remains in a permanent state of alert. The loss of body condition is significant. The body is depleted. Energy reserves decline. Confrontations between males are often ritualized. But some escalate. Injuries can be serious, sometimes fatal. Each fight, even a brief one, comes at a very high energetic cost. Added to this is constant pressure, the presence of other males, human presence, noise, scents. The stag does not choose this context. He endures it. Understanding what the stag is going through radically changes how we view the rut. It is not a moment of power. It is a moment of extreme vulnerability, where everything depends on very delicate balances. Once the rut is over, the stag is not relieved. He is weakened, exhausted, and vulnerable. The recovery phase is long. It determines his ability to get through the winter, to feed efficiently, and to rebuild his energy reserves. The choices made during the rut have delayed consequences. They are not always immediately visible. An animal that has been too heavily disturbed may come out of the rut in a more degraded state, with less margin to face the rest of the annual cycle. This phase is rarely considered by observers. And yet, it is an integral part of the true cost of the rut. For an attentive photographer, this is a simple reminder: what happens in October does not end in October. The rut attracts people, walkers, organized outings, photographers. Each individual, taken alone, often believes they are being discreet. But the stag does not perceive intentions. He perceives accumulation, repeated presences, noise, scents, movement. And this pressure arrives at the most critical moment possible. The problem is not one person. It is density, repetition, saturation. Each disturbance is added to a system that is already under tension. For a photographer, ignoring this context is a way of telling oneself a story. Understanding the overall pressure allows for a clear-headed decision. Is this a moment that can be worked with, or a moment where any action adds one constraint too many? The rut is not a period of exploration. It is a period of lock-in. If the work hasn't been done beforehand, it is often already too late. Understanding where the animal lives outside the rut, identifying potential rutting areas, knowing the movement corridors, the retreat zones, all of this is prepared before October. During the rut, the role of a serious photographer is to remain discreet, stable, and perfectly positioned, or to step back entirely. Knowing when to stop is an essential part of the work. The next time you think about the rut, you won't see it only as a powerful moment. You'll see an animal under constraint. And you'll know that if an image exists, it is the outcome of a long, invisible process. When you put together everything a stag goes through during the rut, one thing becomes obvious. If you want to take photographs, the best option is to use a hide. Not stalking, not constant movement, but staying in one place. A hide tent, or a well-chosen natural hide, allows human presence to be concentrated in a single spot. One fixed point, stable, predictable. For a stag, something that does not move is far easier to tolerate than a presence that advances, stops, moves again, changes scent, and changes trajectory. The purpose of a hide is not to get closer. It is to disturb less. But a hide is not decided during the rut. It is prepared beforehand, outside sensitive periods, when animals are not under maximum pressure. You choose the location. You understand where the stags move. You identify possible passages. You check whether the site is readable. During the rut, entering the hide follows a single rule: not to be seen and not to be detected. You settle in discreetly, well in advance, choosing a moment when the area is calm. Once inside the hide, you do not come out just to see if something happens. You stay in place. And when you decide to leave, you do so only when you are certain that the animal is no longer in the area. Leaving too early, or moving while the stag is still present, can ruin several days, sometimes even several weeks of activity. And above all, you avoid going back and forth. If conditions are not right, you leave. If this video helped you better understand what's really happening out in the field, then leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Every week, we explore a new aspect of the living world, always with an ethical, field-based approach. And tell me in the comments, what surprised you the most, or changed the way you see things? See you very soon, out in nature.